The first known examples of plant imagery date back to the Paleolithic period, where early humans were using natural materials to create their artwork. Evidence of this can be seen in the cave paintings of Lascaux, France, where depictions of plant life, particularly mushrooms, can be found alongside animals such as bulls and horses. And in these early works, created by rubbing powdered minerals onto stone, are some of the oldest surviving examples of human creativity and really demonstrate that ancient connection between art and nature. And in these early depictions, plants were more than just visual motifs. They're likely symbolic, tied to spiritual and medicinal practices. Mushrooms, for example, were thought to have been used in ritualistic ceremonies. The artistic expression of the Paleolithic period is really closely intertwined with nature's ability to shape human perception. And this is a theme that continues throughout the history of art. These Paleolithic cave paintings are so incredibly profound. I was fortunate enough to see some of the cave paintings in France and to stand beneath these reflections of the natural world as envisioned through a human eye and expressed in an artistic medium. That expression of creativity that goes back thousands of years was such a profound experience. I don't think anyone in the cave with me was not weeping. It was such a beautiful thing to know how we are innately creative beings. We are innately wanting to express and capture and storytell, and how so much of the inspiration that we want to create comes out of our connection with the planet itself. And in this part of the module, I really want to move into visual art and examine how artists across various countries, various centuries, various cultures have all used plants as subjects. The plant, nature as the muse to visual artists. So we have the sort of Paleolithic expressions, we have all the ancient and medieval manuscripts, and then we emerge into the beautiful highlight moment of botanical art, which is the Renaissance, and of art itself, really. The Renaissance really marked this period of artistic exploration and this renewed interest in the natural world. And during this time, you have the study of plants and flowers, which take on an academic and scientific role. You're coming off of all the amazing herbals and medicinal manuscripts of ancient times and of medieval times, including the incredible work of the Christian mystic Hildegard von Bingen, who was an abbess who was not only creating artwork, but writing and music from her garden walls of her abbey in Germany, and really finding God through nature. In the Renaissance, you have artists like Leonardo da Vinci, who sketched plants in his notebooks and who really brought a sense of scientific precision to their depiction. And Da Vinci's studies included detailed drawings of plant anatomy, and he's really emphasizing the organic beauty of nature and its connection to human form. Another key figure in Renaissance relationship with plants is the Venetian painter Giuseppe Arcimboldo, who gained fame for these imaginative, fantastical representations of plants, which he created in a series of portraits where he combined flowers and fruits and vegetables to form human faces, blending the world of botany with the human figure. And these compositions really challenge traditional views of art by anthropomorphizing nature, really positioning plants not only as subjects of observation, but participants in portrayal of humanity. In the late 19th century, you see the rise in Impressionism, which is a movement that really embraced nature with an unprecedented immediacy. You have Claude Monet, who really transforms the way nature is perceived by capturing all the fleeting effects of light and color in outdoor scenes. So many of his paintings painted in his garden, which we're going to delve a little bit deeper into in the next module, Nature as Teacher. Monet's famed garden at Giverny was really a setting for some of the most iconic works of his, where the natural world was rendered with this incredible, vibrant palette of colors, flowers, water lilies, weeping willows. For Monet, weren't just objects to be painted, they were sort of the living essence of his artistic vision. In Water Lilies series, perhaps one of his most famous series, Monet captures the beauty of his own garden using these thick, expressive brushstrokes to evoke the sense of movement and life. So the garden for Monet really became subject and medium for his work, and it unfolded, the seasons unfolded, the cycles of the natural world were really his primary muse. Similarly, in the Impressionist era, we have the work of Vincent van Gogh and his famous sunflower paintings, which really stands out as one of the most recognizable expressions of nature's vibrancy and emotional depth. And it's painted in these whirling, expressive strokes. And his sunflowers, they really have this energy and life, and they really capture this fleetingness, this pulse of nature that Van Gogh was really able to infuse into every one of his paintings, this extraordinary emotional power, turning flowers into studies of light and texture and form. And in the 20th century, we have artists approaching nature with an eye towards the subconscious. So we have the dreams of the surrealist, we have botanical imagery infused with emotional and psychological depth, we have the symbolist movement, we have Gauguin, who's depicting tropical flora and fauna during his time in French Polynesia, where he's immersing himself in the colors and textures and sort of mysticism of the natural world. In Surrealism, we have this dream world and the unconscious and the real world all kind of playing together. You have Salvador Dali, who's using plants in otherworldly contexts. You have the Rose series, where a single rose is hovering over this landscape, symbolizing sensuality and beauty and this dreamlike detachment from reality. In the works of the female surrealists like Leonora Carrington or Romita Ovara or Leonore Fini or Dorothea Tanning, you have this reimagined nature, the surrealist world where flowers and plants take on these mythic, symbolic qualities. In Tanning's The Sunflower series, you see these sunflowers that seem to have a life of their own. Their stems are intertwined around figures and suggestive poses. It's this sensuality and organic matter and human form, all kind of creating this disorienting and beautiful sense of sensuality, of power, of transforming nature into muse and metaphor. In the 19th century, you have also another medium that's evolving, which is photography. And it really revolutionizes the way that artists capture the natural world. This new medium allows for unprecedented detail and accuracy, but also this intimacy with botanical imagery and kind of working off this legacy of these beautiful botanical drawings that were done and paintings that were done during the 16th, 17th, and 18th century. Then we move into the early days of photography, where botanical photography really becomes a very popular genre. You have Anna Atkins, who is really one of the first predominant and legendary female photographers to create photograms of plants. So basically producing these incredibly detailed images of ferns and algae. She would also explore all sorts of different beautiful pieces of the natural world using this cyanotype process. In the early 20th century, you have photographers like Imogen Cunningham and Edward Weston really expanding on traditional botanical photography and bringing this intimate, sensual quality to their depictions of plants. And Cunningham, she does these beautiful close-up shots of flowers, particularly the delicate curves of calla lilies. And all of these are infused with such a sense of quiet elegance. Her work transforms ordinary plants into objects of fascination, focusing on intricate details and the subtle interplay of light and shadow. Weston, on the other hand, approached plants with this sort of sensual eye, photographing fruits and vegetables with a focus on form and texture. And his iconic image of a green pepper, pepper number 30, it's called, there's this incredibly beautiful, powerful, almost erotic image of a simple vegetable, a really beautiful study of the shape and texture of nature. And in the second half of the 20th century, we, of course, have all the erotic and beautiful plants and art as explored by Robert Mapplethorpe. All of his nature photographs really took on this almost human form. And Mapplethorpe's work really juxtaposed the beauty of flowers, the delicateness of flowers, with the rawness of sexuality, blurring the lines between nature's innocence and its more seductive elements. And then, of course, we have one of the most influential 20th century artists, Georgia O'Keeffe, who's really known for her large-scale depictions of flowers, her magnified renditions of petals, particularly in works like Black Iris and Red Canna, are these intimate, abstract, beautiful paintings that transform flowers into voluptuous symbols of beauty. For Georgia O'Keeffe, nature was more than just this thing to be copied. Her nature paintings really transform her personal impressions, her personal emotional and psychological states, and capture that interplay between the external world and the internal experience. In recent times, we have just environmental and ecological art. We have activism. We have artists like Sebastian Salgado taking beautiful images of the Amazonian rainforest and dedicating much of his life to the preservation of that place. We have the artist Yoko Ono using nature as subject and medium in her works. You have environmental artists, you have light and space artists who are integrating all the elements of nature into these monumental land art works, for instance, Spiral Jetty or Nancy Holt's Sun Tunnels, or the work of American artist Lita Albuquerque. In Salgado's series, you have these images of the rainforest that are documenting the beauty, but also the devastating effects of deforestation. In his Genesis series, he's taking photos and documenting untouched landscapes around the world, just trying to remind us of what could be lost if we aren't aware and we don't preserve the beauty of the natural world. One of the most beautiful pieces of contemporary work is a work by Yoko Ono called The Wish Tree, which is an installation that encourages people to write their wishes on pieces of paper and hang them on a tree, which sort of symbolizes hope and unity and this power of nature, this sort of enduring symbol of the tree as it relates to growth, interconnectedness, into rootedness and depth and structure and solidity, but also into beauty, into heavens, into reaching out above. She really creates this beautiful interconnection between the individuals who are interacting with the tree and using art to create space for healing, but also for a collective action. And as we move into the next chapter, Nature's Teacher, we're really going to take some of these artists and experiences that they have had relating with the world. A lot of these writers who have written about art, thinkers, activists, poets, musicians, visual artists, painters, sculptors. Think about the ways that they have interpreted the lessons of nature and the ways that we can then interpret the lessons of nature in our own way. And as I said at the beginning of the module, we are all inherently creative beings. We all can find ways to express ourselves and share our unique visions with the world, our completely unique experiences that each of us have. And in so many ways, tapping into nature, connecting with nature is a beautiful way to express big ideas, big emotions in a way that is profound and is just immediately relatable and immediately understood by the world around us and by the people around us. So we'll move on to our final module, Nature's Teacher.